welcome back to the channel. My name is Savannah, and today we're doing something a little different. Today we are building a cheetah discovery center. If you've been following the channel, you know that my two other projects are currently River Rock Zoo, which is a North American style, very expensive, modern zoo, and my second project is Sakura Zoo, which is more of a lower budget, small town, but very realistic zoo, where we're trying to focus on a lot of the details, trying to make a zoo that reflects what you would actually see in real life if you went to a zoo. But this is neither of those. This is just a one-off build that I actually built for another content creators community contest. Say that 5 times fast. But this was actually built for another content creator, Paulsley. If you haven't already, I do highly recommend checking out some of his videos, especially if you're just starting out. He's got lots of wonderful tutorials, tips, and tricks to get you started. But the goal of the contest, or I guess the rules of the contest, were to build a habitat for a big cat. Now, when I first started building, I was working off of a reference picture, and this building that I found was kind of this cottage thing in the woods, but it had these big circular roof pieces, which really stood out to me, so I wanted to utilize those. So that's what you can see me doing here that I just finished up. These two big circles are actually just the roof, and I'm only building them low to the ground so that I can make sure the walls fit, and then you'll see I kind of move them up and get them in place a little bit later. They were just built using the rotational symmetry trick, just the same object rotated slightly around and around. I do lift it up and down, which you might have seen me do to make sure there's no crossfighting, because the crossfighting drives me nuts in the game. So as much as I can, I always try to minimize that where possible. But you also might notice that as we're building and getting started on here, it's in a very green biome. That's because when I first started building, I had no idea what big cat I was going to build for. I just found that reference picture, thought it looked like a really unique building, and went with it. It wasn't until actually much later that I decided to build for the cheetahs. I actually felt like the cheetahs are kind of underappreciated or underused, I guess, one of the less frequently built for animals in the game. You know, the jaguars are really popular, the tigers are really popular, and to be honest, I love all the big cats. Big cats are one of my favorite animals. Lions specifically are my favorite animal. But I wanted to do something that was going to be very different, and I think that we accomplished that in this build. So you'll see a little bit later, most of the building takes place in this biome, but I do eventually switch it over to an African savanna biome. Convenient. It's named after the channel, or me, I guess. Anyway, move it over to what the cheetah's environment would actually be. So I think that really helps tie it all together, because the color of the grass, the yellowy, orangey color of the grass, really kind of brings it all together. But the first part of this build, again, I'm just working on getting everything proportionally correct, filling in all the gaps, because working with circles is particularly difficult in this game. Lots of pieces are on a grid, lots of pieces are very square, and so working with circles or angles that aren't right angles, they're less or more, can be pretty difficult. So right here I'm just kind of fiddling and getting everything to fit together. I love those glass pieces. We got those glass pieces with the South American pack, but I really don't like that when they go together, you can see the line that they are two separate pieces. So just kind of fiddling with that to try to hide it as much as possible. And then here putting in some roof supports, because obviously a roof like this wouldn't hold itself up on its own. So in the reference picture, the roof was actually held up by surrounding trees, because like I said, it was kind of like a foresty, cabiny feel of a building. But here, obviously, I wanted it to be in an open African grassland area, or at least eventually I do. Right now, I haven't decided that yet. So I needed to hold it up with some other things. Now here I'm trying to add some detail to the roof, and you can see it took me a minute to figure it out, because although, you know, I kind of sort of know how the rotational symmetry works, I'm still kind of learning which pieces rotate from which place on the actual piece, if it's the center or if it's the side. So I do kind of attempt this a couple different times, and I end up using this teal piece, which is again from the South America pack, and it's quickly becoming one of my favorite pieces, this little wood piece right here. It comes in a bunch of different lengths, and it's recolorable, which is my favorite thing. So it's just a plain piece of wood that's recolorable and very, very versatile. Now you can see I kind of tried to cheat there. I tried to copy and paste what I'd already built because I didn't want to go around the whole roof and place individual pieces, but that's what we end up doing because I couldn't get it to look right the other way. So I just kind of framed these off, and then I don't actually get to it until much later in the build, the kind of offset circular wooden pieces for the roof, and that's because those were actually an accident. I got lots of feedback when I submitted this for the contest of how much the roof was unique and how much people liked it, and that's great. I'm really excited that people liked it, but it was an accident. I was actually thinking that I didn't want it to be solid plaster, and so I was gonna just cover it in wood so that the entire roof was just 2 levels of all the wooden pieces. And because, and I'm not sure if this is gonna make sense because it's a little hard to explain without actually seeing it, because the roof, the big circles that are already built are tilted at an angle, when I went to rotate them, because they were groups, they didn't rotate flat. They kind of rotated into a spiral. Now, when I did that, it looked fairly cool, and I decided just to go with it, but that's kind of how that came about. It was definitely not a plan. That was something that was not in the reference picture, but pretty happy with how that came out. Now here I have the majority of the build built, and I am just putting in some finalizing little pieces and figuring out how I want the platform to be, because it is a raised habitat, and I do end up making it where you look into the habitat that the animals are a little bit lower. There's a kind of a dry moat in between you and the animal, and then the animals can run around up on a hill that bring them more to eye level. So it gives that illusion that the animals are right there with the guests, and gives it a cooler view, I think. And again, just going back with these pieces to do the other roof. So while I'm doing that, I wanted to take a minute to thank you guys for the feedback and all the likes and the comments for the past episode of Sakura Zoo. If you haven't checked it out already, it was the pangolin house. So we added the Chinese pangolins to Sakura Zoo. And I am so appreciative of all the feedback I got on that. It seems like it was pretty well liked, and I was pretty happy with it as well, so thank you so much. And if you're able to and want to subscribe to the channel or leave a like on this video or leave a comment, I am having an absolute blast making videos. I'm pretty excited about a couple of the projects that we have so far, and please do let me know. Like I said, this was a one-off build, so if you want to see more in this style, absolutely, definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know that you liked it, because again, as I've said in previous videos, these videos are for you guys. I don't make them for my entertainment. I make them because I enjoy building in the game, and I enjoy sharing creations with everybody. I enjoy the community, but let me know if you like this, because I definitely can kind of expand on this and keep going. As we go through the build, one more thing that I wanted to mention, sorry, my brain was trying to switch gears very quickly and it kind of took a momentary pause. In the next coming months or so, there might be a little bit of slowdown on the channel. Now, I say slowdown only because I am a full-time employee, but soon to be back to a full-time student as well. Now, 40 hours of work, 40 plus hours of work every week, plus a few different classes that I will be going to is not going to leave me much extra time. Now, I don't plan on taking a break or stopping. I definitely plan on creating content and keeping going, but I will say it's likely, very much so, to slow down. I may not be able to commit to a weekly video. I may have to go to every other week or so, so please bear with me. It is only for 3 months. It starts in a couple weeks. It starts in the end of August, and it goes all the way until about the second week of December. So during that time, there will be a little bit of a slowdown, but I do plan to keep going. The very last thing that I wanted to tell you guys that I'm so excited for. We are almost at 1,000 subscribers, and I really don't know how to say thank you. I feel like I have said that before, and it's true. I'm not really sure how to say thank you enough because I'm ecstatic. I'm super, super excited for that. I think at the time of this video, the channel is at 980, so we're just about 20 away, and I can't believe we've done that. I can't believe that the little community that we're building has grown that fast. I am so thankful and so excited about it that I'm working on a couple things. So for 1,000 subscribers, I have some ideas, but if you guys have an idea about a celebration, please drop that down in the comments. I am totally open to suggestions. I want to do something special, so let me know what you would like to see. That being said, the next episode for either next week or the following week, I'm going to see how quickly I can get it done, is I do think I want to tackle the polar bears for River Rock Zoo. I've gotten a lot of requests for polar bears, and I think they're an animal that would fit great in River Rock Zoo, so I'm pretty excited to tackle them, especially given all their annoying, to say the least, requirements in the game. Obviously, they need lots and lots and lots of space. Very realistic, so I do appreciate that because the polar bears do need lots of space, but it doesn't make it kind of a difficult build challenge. So I think I'm ready to do that. I'm pretty excited. I have some ideas on what I want to do, but that will be either next week or the following week's video. So I'm excited to get started on that. And if you don't already, follow me on Twitter and on Instagram. I do try to share like sneak peeks and things of what I'm working on to get your guys' feedback, but also let you know what to expect on the channel. Going back to this build for just a second, so you can see here I've moved on to the actual habitat. Now I wanted to keep it fairly small. I think I end up putting 3 cheetahs in here, 2 males and a female, but I wanted to keep it so that the animals had to stay close to the guests where they would get good views, but also a little bit of area for them to run because obviously cheetahs like to run. And we do end up putting a small backstage area on this as well. I did build this a while ago before we started Sakura Zoo, but I do like playing the game very realistically. It's something I've mentioned in other videos, and because I just have a huge interest in animal welfare, I currently work with animals, I like playing it realistically. That's just kind of my style. Everybody has their own, but I really want to push myself to make exhibits that would reflect what the animals really need and what you would really see in a real life zoo. That being said, that even though we're in sandbox, all of the builds that I do make it so their welfare is very high, so that if you took this and plopped it in a franchise or took it and just wanted to play in sandbox with all the requirements on, you definitely could, because these meet all the animal needs. So I really enjoy the challenge of trying to do that. Even though I think some of the requirements for some of the animals may not be as realistic as they could be, I like the challenge of trying to make it so the game is happy. The game is happy with what you're building, and the animals are happy in the game with what you're building. So you can see here I'm using these fence pieces, which are quickly becoming my favorite fence pieces, to make kind of a further reinforced barrier so that the animals can't escape over the wall, and they kind of fit the aesthetic as well. And then, like I did mention, we do a small backstage area, not with too much detail, but the idea is that with any predator, with any, apex predator for that matter, the zookeepers aren't just going to walk right into the enclosure to clean them. They're going to have to move the animal into a separate area so that they can then get into the enclosure and clean up after the animal, feed the animal, things like that. So this is where I start work on that. And I do go through a few iterations with this because it took me a little bit to get it exactly right. But this would be where they would push the cheetahs back, and then they could go in, put their food and clean up after them and things like that, and then go let the cheetahs back out. Very last thing I wanted to note is this does have all of the Cheetah's requirements, food including. However, I do take the food tray and sink it under some rocks, so if you're looking for it, you can't see it, but the keepers can still use it, and it makes it look like the keepers are throwing their food down on some of the flat rock pieces. Just a little trick that I like to do, makes it look like the environment that the animal would actually be in the wild, or at least what I imagine it would look like in the wild. With that, that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe if you can. Leave a comment down below with any questions or suggestions or feedback. Everything is appreciated. I love reading everything you guys have to say, and I do my very best to respond to everything. So with that, I will leave you with the speed build, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!
sizowaka. Nisifuna silapha thina sizowaka. Thina nisifuna silapha sizowaka. Nisifuna silapha thina sizowaka. Thina nisifuna silapha sizowaka. Nisifuna silapha thina sizowaka. Nisifuna silapha thina sizowaka.